Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm OYOKO, but you can call me V, and I'm here today, this wonderful evening, with multidisciplinary artist Osh, who will tell a bit more about himself and his practice, and then we will get into the conversation. It's been a while since I've recorded a sacred discussion video, so I will give you a bit more information about what the topic is after his introduction. So, Osh, over to you.
Amazing.
Very carefully.
Yes, amazing. Thank you for introduction, OYOKO. So, as it's been said, my name's Osh, and I'm been into a lot of different creative activities in the past couple of years, and that included my journey into modeling, from being completely a person who doesn't really have confidence, to working with a lot of kind of high-end photographers and just really growing from that, and being an extra, becoming a full-time musician recently, a performer, and I'm currently really trying to express healing to the world that comes from within through social channels. That is my journey so far, and I'm excited to be here. Hand it over.
Perfect. Okay. Well, we are going to discuss, share perspectives, share our experiences surrounding kindness, being nice with yourself and with others, as a topic to explore further. I feel like, well, maybe I should rephrase this. We are going to discuss kindness and being nice to people and being nice to yourself, and what the problem could be in doing so. So I guess maybe we can start with your definition and my definition of kindness and what it means to be a nice person.
Wow, that's such an interesting question.
Yeah, I do want to grab my water bottle. So
Go for it.
grab it.
Go for it. Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, of course.
So, the definition of kindness, and what was the other word?
Kindness and being nice, being a nice person. What your definition is?
Wow. So, actually, I've never thought about that, and I've never came up with a definition for that, but that's really cool. Kindness for me, a kind person would be someone who's allocating their time and attention to somebody else, whether they would need it or not, I suppose. And what was the other one? Kindness and being nice person. Nice person. Well, for me personally, being nice, I suppose, is coming back to a perspective that we're all humans in a way, and kind of trying to come back to that level of realizing that we are all on the same page, and kind of trying to respect each person that we meet, even if they're a stranger to us. That would be nice.
You are someone that practices their creativity mostly on your own. How are these different encounters with other people, with other artists, usually like? And have you experienced or felt like, people, like how people treat you based on the work that you do versus when they don't know anything about you, and how they treat you then? Do you feel like people act with more compassion and with more empathy and are more kind towards you after they know that you are an artist? Like how has your experience been so far?
So, generally, I feel like, well, since I've grown up with certain different look that I've got.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I was born with a genetic illness,
Mm-hmm.
and that provides me with kind of a unique look, in a way that the shape of my head's a bit different, and so my skin tone's a little bit like uneven, and so I've grown up with this kind of thing of being looked at, especially in school, like getting extra attention. And I think for that reason, I still get a little bit more attention than an average person. And
Like a negative attention, you mean?
well, not necessarily negative, but
Okay.
probably it's the looks that you get. And well, that's always been kind of a mystery to me, what's going on in people's minds when they look at me. And so, well, it's always a guess, isn't it? I guess people, generally, it's really hard to say how people, what people think about you. But I guess whenever they actually approach me, instead of just kind of taking a look at me, it's always better than I expect.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I've grown up with an expectation, because of certain experiences that being approached by someone might be negative, due to some past experiences in schools where some kids might be in that bully mode. But these days, whenever someone approaches me, that's it's actually nice.
Okay.
And as you were saying, well, when they actually experience you through your art, which is when I'm performing, for example, or I'm modeling, and they approach me with that in their mind, that I'm actually doing this and that. I get a lot of respect from people, so they really tend to compliment me. And yeah, sometimes it's like, I don't know how to take that. But that's what happens most of the time. I very rarely get something negative from people, so I'm happy about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's nice. I guess with kindness, for me, I feel like being kind means being attentive and considerate of people, but also being aware of your own needs and knowing how to set boundaries and to abide by your own boundaries and not push it away or break your own boundaries simply to support others. So yeah, being considerate of yourself and your own needs, as well as being considerate of other people around you and what they might need, and when you should step in or when you should hold back, and give them the space and the grace to allow them to explore and make mistakes and make them figure out, or allow them to figure out what to do next. and not constantly interfere, because it's all a learning process anyway. I think everyone can be nice. I think it takes more effort and I guess more consideration to be kind. Maybe it's just based on your character. If you're generally someone that wants to be helpful or sees the good in people, and doesn't go straight to all the negative sides of our human psyche and the human experience in general, then it's okay, I guess. But if being nice is, I feel like sometimes, not always, but sometimes a facade. You know, it's like playing the game until you get what you want, and then you move on. And in most cases, that can be very damaging, very hurtful towards other people, even towards yourself. But maybe if you're not aware of it, then later down the line, you then maybe look back and then realize that you could have handled the situation differently. I feel like maybe playing nice is easier. Shall I put it like that? Playing nice might be, in my opinion, easier than being kind, because nice is just like play.
That's really interesting, and I had a strong feeling about what you said about being nice can be fake in a way. I think there's a certain state in society where we're afraid to be honest with people, and so that creates that medium of kind of being nice to everyone, and or potentially faking some opinions or just experiences. And I guess it's a learning experience for everyone, but I found that it's pretty draining to be fake in a way. I believe that everyone in a way goes through some level of that, because I mean, I've gone through it, and I'm just learning as well to recognize that aspect. But and then kindness, as you said, being nice can be easy, and being kind is harder. I feel that's because it requires more genuinity in a way. Like, I don't know if you'd agree with that, but I feel like kindness actually requires that extra step. As you said, allowing someone to have their boundaries, which can obviously mean that we have to maintain ourselves in certain situations and keep our ego down to a level, so that we allow another person to grow in a way.
Have you had any situations where you felt like you had to be nice just to keep people happy in a way? Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And how did you feel when you went through that situation?
I think it's very draining.
Okay.
To go through that, because your energy is kind of being drained by that. Just kind of agreeing and not being honest, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like I try always to be honest, even if it's like very difficult, or I try to express the root cause of my behavior, if I know what it is that is leading me to behave a certain way. So I feel like honesty, well, it's also a cultural I want to say phenomena, but it's not really that. I think it has, it is strongly linked to how we connect and interact with one another. So our cultural differences will heavily impact the way we deal with candid conversations. I know with my upbringing.
What would candid mean?
As in like being forthright, straightforward with with your feelings or your opinions. Yeah. I guess with my upbringing and the culture that I grew up in, it is expected for you to be, you know, straightforward and to say what's on your mind, because that in itself is a sign of respect. You know, you don't want to waste people's time, you don't want to waste your own time, and you want to work towards a solution or work towards the next step. You don't want to, you know, beat around the bush and, you know, be ambiguous in your answers, and then you have to figure out like all these stuff. And I feel like when really I'm messy. Here in the UK, just interacting with people, with British people and the British culture, I feel like that's the thing that stood out for me, where I had to constantly decipher what people meant or what they were trying to say, because they weren't straightforward, they weren't clear with what they wanted, with their intentions. I'm not saying that this is with every single British person, because that's simply not possible. I haven't interacted with every British person, but it's something that keeps coming up, and it makes it sometimes really hard to live like authentically yourself, whether this is through your practice or just like one-to-one in social settings. But I thought that was quite interesting, like an interesting observation. I'm like, you have to find a way to mingle, and it's also maybe good because you want to know how to communicate with people who have a different communication style, but it can be very draining and sometimes detrimental to your mental health because it becomes just too much, you know. So I thought that I wanted to say that just at the very beginning before we move on.
No, that's really cool. I resonate with that. And culturally, as you said, totally agree that obviously definitely not every English person is like this or like that.
You don't want to generalize. Obviously, it's all personal. All personal experiences. So
totally agree with that. About authenticity as well. It's totally agree that potentially spending time around a person or a group of people who would, you know, not be honest enough can be draining and potentially damaging as well, because then we as humans kind of emulate each other a little bit as well. So spending time around someone can really impact us. I feel like you probably heard about the saying, which is like, you're the average of 5 people.
You're the average of 5 people?
Something like that. Have you heard of that? No?
No, I haven't. What does that mean?
Well, I didn't include one word in that saying. So you're the average of 5 people around you. Okay, that's 2 words.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you heard of that, though?
Is it similar to you are the company that you keep? Is it like a similar context or concept?
I think it's exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
It's just another way of saying that we're really influenced by the people that surround us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like...
I guess maybe a question to inject now
Go for it. All right, I'll get my arm ready.
Is, do you think that being nice to people is an act of selflessness?
Oh, wow.
Yes, being kind, or no, being nice. Well, it could be both. Kindness or being simply nice to someone is an act of selflessness or selfishness.
That's so interesting. I was instantly like, perhaps a bit of both. And I don't know if you feel the same way about it, but I would, this kind of notions of selflessness and selfishness for me have been something that I'm still trying to understand in a way.
Yeah.
Because something that's selfish could be seen as selfless in some situations. For example, let's say I've got a couple of friends. This is not reality. It's just an example.
Hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically, if I've got a couple of friends and they're inviting me to meet, and I'll be like, I don't wanna, so I will be saying, you know what, I don't want to go out today. And so that could be seen as selfish by those friends. But then if that's the situation or a decision or a choice that's better for me, in the long run, I will be healthier and I will be able to be a better person for them in a way. Because, you know, I'm taking care of myself, therefore I'll be a better example to them as well. Of a person who is self-loving and who can enjoy just be by themselves happily as well. I think that's where it could be seen as selfless, and so that's why I was a bit confused with the notions. But yeah, so I believe like being nice and kind can be seen as both, depending on the situation. I know it doesn't lead to an answer, but
yeah, no, that's fine. I guess it is interesting how people label selfishness and selflessness. I feel like we do things to appease ourselves, first. I think we do lots of things out of self-interest, and if it helps other people, then we are, happy about that too. We're content.
Yeah.
I guess if it becomes too much, and too much is very subjective, but in any context and in ways that you interact with people and how they perceive those interactions, whether you do things to appease them or yourself, it can always be labeled, as you said, as either selfish or selfless. If it's meeting their needs, because that's another thing, you can do something to help others and then suppress your own needs, and then still people will see that as you're not being helpful enough, you're not selfless enough. Absolutely. Because they have a different concept of what selflessness looks like and how people should act according to those standards that they have. I actually feel like I should be more selfish. I feel like I'm not doing that enough. But yeah, other people might say that I'm already selfish enough, and I should not be like that. So
yeah,
it's
depends on the point of view, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I don't really take it as a negative when people call me selfish or when people call me selfless. I don't think people really call me selfless or selfish. I think it might come out in different ways, maybe with different words. But yeah, it's interesting to, I guess, think about what people expect of you, and to manage expectations. I think that's something that I'm gonna do more this year, managing expectations, because I always want to make sure that I don't go against my nature or go against my my values, simply to assist someone in their desire or in their leisure or pleasure or whatever it is, because the favor is not always returned in a way. And I'm not saying that it has to be like that, but I am aware that that will dictate how accommodating I can be to others, because they don't show that same regard for my feelings or my situation, if the tables were turned. So I do keep that in mind when I sometimes meet new people, but also with people that I know for a while, and things change. Obviously, people change over a span of a year, 2 years.
Absolutely. I feel like everybody changes, whether they recognize it or not, in a way. And I think it's really beautiful what you said about expectations and kind of managing expectations. And so I felt like, I had this thought about, do we have to accommodate other people's expectations, and so I just realized that it's a choice whether we do that. It's our personal decisions, and obviously the people around us, they could be our family members, but they could be just our friends, and I guess we'll be more accommodating for someone who's closer to us in a way, which could be our family members or really close friends. But I still feel like, and obviously you will probably agree with that even in the closest relationships, there still have to be boundaries in kind of who we accommodate, what kind of expectations we accommodate in a way. If my mother would say, would expect me to, become really successful in a certain area, do I have to accommodate that? For example, I feel like I shouldn't if I don't feel the calling to. I think that's really interesting as well. It's just the independence of, in a way, a personal independence.
I do agree to a certain extent. I do agree to a certain extent. I feel like I want people just to say what they expect of me. I just say what you expect, and then I can say if it's something that I can accommodate, if I can meet those expectations and standards that you have set for me, or for yourself. I am still trying to understand what a fully fledged healthy relationship looks like, where the communication styles align or smoothly interact with one another, or with like people interact with one another, even with different communication styles. It's still respectful, still respecting their boundaries and understanding. Sometimes people are unable to communicate their emotions properly or their feelings properly, and because of that you're aware of that, and then you step back. But I feel like there's I guess you define and explore that together with the people that you interact with, what a healthy relationship looks like. But it can also be abusive, and how do you deal with that as well? Because someone doesn't have the tools to regulate their emotions in a healthy manner, and now you are the target, and you're the one that now needs to take the hit and absorb all of this toxicity. I'm not saying that I am perfect in regulating my emotions and I know what to say, how to say it, when to say it. I am still, constantly learning.
Everybody's learning.
Exactly.
So.
But yeah, I feel like it's like when is niceness, kindness justified? And I feel like there's sometimes a problem with you have to be nice because people are going through stuff, even though you're now the one that is the recipient, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, of their abuse, because they don't have their stuff together or they're having a difficult time. You can be aware of that and still decide, I don't want to be nice. I don't want to extend kindness to you. I don't want to be the one that is always the bigger person or always show that person grace, because now it becomes detrimental to you,
Absolutely.
So yeah, what's that fine line? I don't know what the question is. I'm just saying stuff. But yeah,
that's really cool. No, that's really cool. I think there's it's a really important thing to talk about. Well, probably first of all because we're all learning emotionally, and it's really important to kind of discuss these situations so that more of us could potentially learn in a way. But I absolutely felt what you were describing, and I've recently had a situation where I had to extend my niceness and kindness to someone who was they were pretty much ignoring me, and they were just all about them, but in a way that you are the listener, and so you're just sitting there and they're just talking, and it's uncomfortable to move away from that. And as you said, they have sort of a incompetence in perceiving boundaries, perhaps, or perceiving that or understanding that a healthy connection or a conversation should involve balance in a way, which means both people should be expressing themselves or listening, not only one side. So for me, the line was I had to overcome myself in a way and talk over that person, which I never do. Well, perhaps sometimes, and that's not something I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be respectful. But that was the situation where I had to break my rule of niceness, and it was a situation which was starting to damage me, which you described. But that was such a great learning experience, though. So I had to talk over a person and make it clear that I'm overwhelmed by their expression in a way. And so...
How was it received?
Well, actually, it was received with respect. But not as much respect as was needed, because I had to eventually just walk away.
Okay.
So I think for an average human, that's, pretty hard thing to do. I know that it was hard for me to do because you don't usually just walk away from a person. Culturally, it's maybe a bit not only awkward, but I suppose difficult. So I don't know if I even answered the question, but I feel like the line has to be drawn when a person feels that their energy is being drained, that they're feeling uncomfortable, and in order to keep themselves healthy, in a way.
Do you feel like it's justified when people say, I'm going to stop being nice because being nice comes with problems or causes problems, and therefore I'm just not going to help anyone? I'm not going to help anyone, or I'm going to limit my way of helping people because I'm tired, because it's misconstrued, misinterpreted, it's taken for granted. I am not going to help people no more, or I'm going to be more selfish. I'm going to be more selfish because people don't appreciate me and the things that I do. Sometimes people are not considerate at all and are really taking people for granted and taking people, are taking advantage of people and their altruism. But sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it's people do so much for you, or you're doing the giving and you're doing so much, and people still mistreat you or don't appreciate you. What do you think? Like, the problem with being nice is that people then take advantage of you, and therefore you don't want to be nice anymore. Is that a huge issue? Do you see that often? Do you hear that often, or is it something that's foreign to you, that's new?
No, that's a really cool question. No, it's not foreign at all, and I've coincidentally been experiencing this in the past couple of months. So I don't know how you came up with the subject.
Oh,
that's
really?
just really accurate. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But you not wanting to be nice anymore.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Do you want to share what happened? Well, obviously not into detail, but
yeah, I could tell you at superficial level, because obviously it could extend to 20 hours conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Let's stick to like 5 minutes max.
Well, maybe it's not. It's 20 hours is a bit exaggerated, but no, actually it's very simple. It's really simple. I am a good listener. It turns out. So when I open myself up to too many people, and that's what happened in the past couple of months, I felt like my time's disappearing, and there's so much things to do. So it becomes 1 hour later to sleep, and then your rhythm kind of gets out of hand, and so it starts this domino effect of kind of life becoming a bit unstable. So I felt like because maybe not even necessarily that people were taking it for granted. Well, some did and some didn't. Some were, some people were completely kind, and I feel like I felt the need to reduce my niceness and kindness when I started seeing that the evidence that my the rhythm of my life is becoming slightly dominoed towards a downward slope.
Uh-oh.
But not in a very steep way, just in a very gradual way. But then I still notice that it's happening, and so I think that's a great indicator that, you know, being really nice to people, being really kind to people, if that becomes impacting in probably not a super healthy way, then that's an indicator that you might want to be a little bit less kind or less nice.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if it impacts you severely, especially mentally, if it impacts your mental health severely, I don't think continuing with the relationship that you have with this person is something good. I don't think it's a great way to continue your quality of life, unless you do not want a life that's of quality. It's hard. Like I'm trying to think if I have an example. Well, I always try to be kind and like support people. I also believe in love languages and how you express love and receive love, and how others express and receive love. And this can be, you know, non-romantic, like platonic, familial. It can be, you know, various ways of feeling appreciated. And I try to consider that as well when I am, you know, if someone asks for help, I want to be there for them. But yeah, I don't want it to be something that would then impede in my peace. But that's my responsibility. It's not theirs. If I'm unable to say no, then I feel like that's on me, you know? I should not be blaming other people because I'm dragging myself around trying to support people when I don't have the capacity to do these things. But yeah, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I forgot what the question was.
It was I think it was something about just where to draw like boundaries and the lines. And yeah, well, I think you said it. I think you did. Like being what you said was being nice to the point of, you know, taking responsibility for if you start feeling like if you start feeling like your life's going into a direction that you don't necessarily want it to go to, right? Then that's kind of your responsibility because you're making a choice in a way. Is that what you
I guess
said?
I guess so. I feel like it takes reflection and self-awareness, that first and foremost, but also regardless of you wanting to resolve a situation, if a situation has escalated and has now turned sour, I feel like always trying to take agency, you know? It's not like what can you do, or what did you do, or how can you well, maybe I should rephrase this. How did you contribute to the situation? And, you know, think of what you could have done differently. But even if it turned sour, like what can you do now to improve? Whether this is for the relationship, because maybe you don't want to keep the relationship anymore, which is valid too. or, you know, for yourself, for your own peace, you know, how to resolve or how to move on so you can be at peace again, or for the other person. But in all scenarios, I think it needs to, like, there needs to be accountability, like, and responsibility. So yeah, I feel like there is still, I can understand why people don't want to be nice and all that stuff anymore if people have screwed them over various times. But then if that has happened various times, then there is a pattern with yourself as well, because it keeps happening. So there's something that you're doing that keeps, you know,
attracting
exactly
that in a way.
Yeah, or you're not, or you're making the same choices over and over again, and you're expecting a different result, which I think is also like, you have to reflect on that too. So, but yeah, I guess, yeah, accountability. Are you someone that takes accountability? Are you yeah? Do people are you open to criticism, and like, when people say, well, you could have done this, or I felt hurt by that, you could have done this differently.
Oh, do you mean like this conversation with self in a way? Or what, like I could have done something differently, or when someone tells me that I could have done something differently, I kind of accept that?
Well, both, I guess.
Both?
Yeah, both. Because I guess when you're reflecting just by yourself, at least with me, I try to think, well, maybe I could have done this differently, or I could have changed this, and, you know, maybe show more compassion or something, you know. So I try to do that too when things go left. But yeah.
No, likewise, I reflect on personal kind of feelings, and then I also take into account other people's what other people say about a situation. And yeah, I tend to be accountable for my choices in a way. I think it's very powerful to
taking accountability.
Because then we're more in a position of controlling our lives in a way, or of taking lives into our own hands. I found really interesting what you said about patterns, for example. Perhaps it's something that the choice that you keep making that brings you to, you know, a certain negative outcome. And when I feel like when you take accountability for that, as hard as it is to realize that, oh, maybe it's me that's like keeps making this choice that brings me there. I see that as accountability, and then you're like, oh, okay, so that was me all along. That wasn't that person. That was me. Had loads of these situations, and then you realize, oh, okay, so that means that I need to do something differently.
Yeah.
So that's
which is also hard, I guess. To
it is hard.
Yeah.
Because it requires to accept your own fault, and most people in society, they're afraid to accept failure. And I love accepting failure.
Oh, like, really?
Yeah, I do. I really do, because it puts me in more power. I think it puts people in power to accept that you've done something that could potentially be better next time. You know, I don't know if you like feel that. Yeah.
Well, I also find it hard to accept my my faults, if I've done something wrong. But yeah, I do own it when someone says something to me and I recognize that, you know, I was wrong there. I'm not gonna lie, and like I do say, like, yes, I could have done this, I could have handled this differently, or I could have be more active or whatever the case may be. So I want to take accountability, and same, I expect that of others too. So it will be hypocritical not to do the same thing. So yeah, what you said about walking away, I think that is powerful, because it's hard sometimes to walk away. You want to be there in the midst of it all and defend yourself to the bitter end. Sometimes I do that, and then it becomes, the situation just escalates even more and more, when you could have just like left and then, ease it out. So I'm trying to do that more often now.
That's great.
Others might say, oh, you're avoidant. Well, then that's what it is then. I prefer to keep my peace and be level-headed and think things through, than to act with all the
emotions and kind of heat,
exactly,
in a way, of the moment.
Exactly. I think that probably will make things even worse, because you're not even thinking, like, you're really working out of your emotional state, and then whatever comes and you do it because that's how you felt like, when it's not always like. I feel like feelings also manipulate people. Like you can easily manipulate yourself, because you feel like whatever you're feeling is justified. Maybe it is at that time, and sometimes it isn't. Like, you can feel terrible, but, and I'm not saying that should be dismissed. Like, it's valid to feel certain things, but it doesn't mean that it's always right. Like, or it's always more important than the act itself. Maybe you've did something wrong and you felt terrible, but it's not above the other that you've harmed. But still your feelings are valid, but that should not be your fuel to now continue with whatever you're doing because you felt terrible. No, like, it's just I guess a consequence of whatever that you did, and now that has flared up within your body, and now you're feeling like that. It's hard. I feel like sometimes feelings, emotions is very tricky, because whatever you're feeling, you feel like you have all the right to feel that and then act upon that. I feel like you have the right to feel whatever you have, or you have the right to feel whatever you're feeling. But it doesn't mean that you're justified to act upon that feeling or that emotion because of its intensity, or if you know what I mean. I'm trying to make the distinction there. Just like a very combative energy is chaotic, it's out of order, it's all over the place. So it needs time to settle
down,
so that you can think on how to take the next step. So walking away in that sense is then a good moment to do that.
There's so many great, so much great value in what you said. Like there's so many things that I wanted to actually also, and I agree with so many things. When you said someone tells you like you always walk away, or when you're walking away they kind of perhaps provoke you. That's what so when you're walking away and someone tells you, well, you're always walking away, or you're being scared, well, I feel like that's a lot of times that's manipulation. It's to involve you back into that emotional intensity where that person
can have the upper hand in a way.
Exactly. And can be a really powerful emotional manipulation, because when we get caught up, as you said, like anger, for example, it's so chaotic. It's so so all over the place. It's just messy. You just get caught up, and then you speak before you think, and all that kind of stuff. And then later we kind of regret some potential things.
Yeah. I guess I hear what you're saying. It is interesting, the whole emotionally manipulative behavior. The saying "misery loves company." I've seen it, happen all the time. But
There's
also,
these days.
But also, like, that there is comfort in misery, and sometimes it can be a way that will become part of one's identity in a way. You need to, like, that there's almost no separation from all the bad things that has happened to you.
Yeah.
Versus you as a standalone person that is going through these experiences. Like, it's almost like you're becoming
all the
being stuff
sucked in a way.
So it makes it also hard to interact with people that have been going through a lot of stuff, and it's almost like negativity follows them, or they attract that. And then I don't want to be part of that, or want to engage with someone that always has something happening, and there's always something bad, there's always something negative. Because as you said earlier, you're the company that you keep, so eventually then you become that too. That's the last thing I want. So I guess also being aware and trying to understand and recognize that when that happens, whether this is someone close to you or an acquaintance, that you recognize those signs, and the signs can be anything. I'm not saying I'm an expert in psychology or sociology, or whatever thing, what are the cues to look out for when you see these things happen in front of you, but to be aware of that, or at least recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just say, well, even though people are an average person's not a psychologist, or they haven't got a degree,
I do love psychology though.
Oh, you do love psychology. Amazing.
Yeah.
It's an interesting subject because it involves everyone, right? Everyone's every day, psychology is there every day. But what I wanted to say was, we all have our feelings and our intuition as well. And so even if someone doesn't have that psychology degree, there's some people who are going to spot something better than a psychologist just out of their intuition. That's what I feel. And so I think some people have a greater ability, some people have a lesser ability of intuition, but I feel like that everyone can feel in a way, or have a chance to feel when that situation is about to kind of pull you in, or because then you have a feeling, oh, this doesn't feel right. And paying attention to that feeling, I suppose, is intuitive, because you're becoming aware of something. So, I believe that you've got great intuition. I mean, I myself have pretty good intuition, and I can just, spot things in a way. Like in that last situation I described, where I had to walk away from a person, I just stopped paying attention to what he was saying. And I just followed my feelings, and I just saw that, this is not going anywhere, and I'm just gonna have to make up my own rules in a way. So that's what I call kind of emotional intuition, I suppose. That's what I would describe that as. Yeah.
Two things came up when you were expressing that. First thing about intuition, and then second thing about you, like, basically stop listening to the person and actually listen to your intuition and what you should do next. Okay,
Yeah.
second situation, where you walked away. I feel like sometimes, and it has happened to me, and I've observed this in some of the conflicts that I had in the past. It's sometimes, well, I want to say sometimes because I don't want to generalize or anyway,
Just for the case. Yeah.
It has happened in the past where I had a conflict where the person just wanted to rant and wanted to use that opportunity to just nail me to the ground and be incredibly harsh, incredibly disrespectful and rude, and just use that as animal. I don't even know if that's an English word, but we do say it in Dutch. Anyway,
sounds pretty English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Use the animal or fuel to insult you and degrade you. So it's not necessarily about finding a solution on how to get past the issue and how we can live or work or move forward in peace, where both parties are content. It's more like, I'm going to use this opportunity to hurt you, emotionally scar you, assert my dominance, making sure that you're lower than me and I am superior. Sometimes that's intentional, sometimes it's not, but I've noticed that has happened in previous conflicts. For me, the most important thing is clarity. Where did it go wrong? How should I move forward? Like, how do I do things in a way that is beneficial to both of us? And then let's work towards a solution where we both feel like this is the right way to continue. So I feel like sometimes it's more like a great opportunity to release all your demons on that person. When they are battling with their own demons. But instead of dealing with that, you just fully focus on that person and just like spew all the hate, all the hatred, negativity, all the other stuff, so you simply don't have to deal with your brokenness or deal with the things that you have to go through, because that's very painful, that's very confrontational. So that's one thing. And then the second thing was the intuition part. I've been in so many situations where I just completely ignored my intuition. Like, I had a strong feeling of, don't do this, don't even dare to do this, just stop. And I ignored all of these signs. I just went for it, and then it backfired on me. I felt incredibly shit, and I realized, I should have listened to that feeling that I had. So I feel like what you said about intuition and acting upon that's great, because I have a hard time sometimes, like, listening. I am getting better, but I really pick and choose when I want to listen to my intuition, and when I don't choose my intuition, it really backfires on me. I need to that's something that I'm working on, like, actually, like, even if I don't see it in the moment, I just need to choose whatever I'm feeling and divert. So
I feel it's a very spontaneous thing, isn't it? Like, sometimes it's just about paying attention to those feelings in a way, but sometimes there's so much going on that it's just not that easy to focus on those feelings in a way. Obviously, as well, I'm learning every day about paying attention to those feelings and, on the same page, like, and obviously everyone is learning as well how to use that. But I really love, did you say that you had to in one situation use in a way your hatred to avoid a potential damage to self in a way? Was that one situation that you've been in that you had to like pretty much defend yourself with some harshness in a way?
Well, it was defend myself with being brutally honest. And I guess being brutally honest will not always work in your favor. It will sometimes get you into more trouble. So yeah, I guess I've been in situations where that happened, or I expressed myself with much candidness, that it didn't work out for me, and where people use that as a switch to like, okay, I can go ham now, I can say whatever I had.
Open the gates
open the gates to spew all the hatred I have for her, or all the suppressed feelings and like deep tucked away thoughts that I had, to then unleash all of that and dump that on her. So I guess it's also, I need to choose the people that I want to be close with wisely. I have to really, because I am more on it now, I suppose, with being careful with who I want to be close with and open myself up with, because people do have deep-rooted resentment for you, and then they will still be, as I said, nice, because that's the easy thing to do, being nice, play nice, and then until they get what they want, or until things fall apart, and then you see their true feelings or hear their true feelings, and I'm like, so why didn't you say this? Why didn't you, we could have talked about it, but instead it becomes fuel to degrade you, and to make you feel miserable and like not worthy of any feelings or any love or anything. So
like strips all of that away in those situations.
Basically trying to like dehumanize you, or like like your character is now being chipped away because you didn't do something in a way that was supposed to be done according to their standards or something like that, so you never know who you're dealing with.
That's true.
You don't disclose everything.
And like that's so true, like even with the closest people, we don't disclose everything, and actually probably it's not healthy to disclose everything.
True.
So but I've been likewise to a similar situation where those kind of gates open up, and then I really like the description of opening the gates to hell. Like that's what it sounds like. And then obviously, as similarly to your situation, there's been a lot of resentment after the fact, and after everything's been said, and felt like I said maybe a bit too much in the moment, and but it's obviously due to emotions, and it's something that every human, I feel like it's healthy for every human to work on their emotions, and also something that I heard recently is that like monks, when a monk comes up and another monk buddy of his has taken their spot to meditate, that monk whose spot is taken, they do get pissed off.
Really?
but they have such a high level of detachment from their impulsive emotions, right, that they're able to just see the surface of it, you know, like feel the surface of it, and not to get drawn in, so that they're able to just like, you know, level it down in a way.
Yeah.
And so that's in a way I feel their, you know, what their practice brings out. It's that sort of, you know, detachment from whatever faces you or whatever comes up to you. You know, situations in life that can just completely make you emotionally shook up. But that ability to just, you know, take a breath in the moment and just see that, but not actually become it in a way.
Yeah.
That's what I really, what really inspired me about that example of, you know, a monk just getting pissed off. Like, we all think monks are like these, you know, saints, saint creatures. Well, I don't think so. I think they do have emotions likewise, because everybody does.
Okay.
Wow.
I guess
just,
I think maybe to close it off, let me think. I'm on a nice question, a nice juicy question. I'm just trying to think what that question might be. Well, what stood out to you? Is there something that you want to further elaborate on? Like, because we spoke about kindness, being nice, the problem with being nice, accountability. What else did we speak about? Like abuse briefly, emotions, feelings. What else? I guess the example that you gave about, you know, a monk knowing or recognizing that this emotion that has
such intensity,
that has risen up, and them recognize then that is separate from themselves, and they choose not to engage with that, takes a lot of I guess, I don't know, takes a lot of awareness, but also like control and discipline, because I find it difficult to detach myself from the emotion that I'm feeling. It's really hard. Like, you can recognize that you are becoming jealous, for instance, but then saying like, okay, I'm going to separate myself. You know, it's okay, I feel jealous, I am aware of that. Let's step aside, understand why I'm jealous. Okay, we get it now. Like, this is the root cause. Okay, so how are you going to move forward so you're not jealous anymore? Cool. And then you detach yourself. But I feel like sometimes, I mean, I know that maybe when I was slightly younger, where I would be jealous. Well, I'm not jealous often, actually. Maybe that's not a great example. But where I would become angry, and then I would just be fully consumed by anger. And it was comfortable. It was easy to
be consumed.
To be consumed by my anger, just by the emotion itself. Because now I'm angry, so I have to emit something, like the energy itself, so it will come out in different ways. But doing something to emit that energy, it was also satisfying in a way. Because that was my I guess motivation or source to do or to act the way I acted. Like, that's my way of justifying. Exactly, that was my outlet. So if I wasn't angry and I would just hit someone in the face, then that's unjustified. But if I'm angry and I hit someone in the face, that's justified because I'm angry. You know, even though it's in itself it's wrong, it's more satisfying and more I can reason with that.
More reasonable.
Exactly.
For personally.
Exactly. Than me just like slapping someone in the face just because I like to do that, because that doesn't make sense. It has to make sense to me for me to act out of order, and then that will make me feel like content in a way. Not to say that I was doing all of this, but just to, you know, make the distinction that whatever we're feeling and how we act is so intrinsically linked to what we think is acceptable, even though the act itself is considered deplorable. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
that's so interesting what you said. It's so, you're digging deep. No, seriously.
Yeah.
I think that's so, such a gold nugget in a way that the distinction of feelings and then, what is right and wrong. Like, the fact that we're gonna do something out of emotion and then we'll feel like that's the right thing, perhaps it just proves how we can't usually depend on emotions to have a clear direction in a way. That's I feel like that's the idea behind this concept is that doing something out of emotions can lead us to, well, potentially not the best places.
Yeah, true. I guess if it's very impulsive, then no.
Yeah, but however, there's another side where it can be really beautiful if we act from emotions to create something beautiful in a way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for example, I'm just trying to use my emotions right now to express, some meaning in a way. So I guess emotions can be used to create good things in a way. But yeah, depends on the intensity and the kind of emotion, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, not to get too deep. I feel it's really valuable.
Yeah.
What you said. And what I wanted to add was that so many of us are afraid of our feelings. And so, talking about jealousy and anger and any kind of negative emotion that arises within us, especially if we have to admit that we're jealous or admit that we're angry, it's really hard, and we're usually ashamed of that. And I've witnessed that within myself, and so I don't think that's healthy. So I think what's really healthy is to, and I think you said it as well, to say, okay, I'm experiencing jealousy, but and then you're like, am I gonna allow this to take over? And then you kind of make a choice, I suppose. And I'm really trying to admit as much as possible that, what, I am jealous, and I'd even love to practice it in front of other people. To take away that fear and that shame of being flawed, because we're all flawed, but not a lot of us are willing to accept that truth,
Yeah.
And so with that being said, there's, I think, a final example that I want to give, because it really allows for growth. And so a few days ago, I was designing this t-shirt and designing a t-shirt design. Okay. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And well, it's basically says, pick up your trash, because I was really angry about
Okay.
seeing all the trash around London,
Okay.
and it's really making me angry.
Oh no.
And so I showed that design to a person.
Yeah.
I said, "What do you think about it?"
Yeah.
And I had just finished eating at a table where we were sitting, and so I took away my tray, which had some food in it, but I left the napkins on the table.
Oh.
And so my t-shirt design was pick up your trash.
Yeah.
And I had just stood up from the table and I was about to leave, and my napkins were on the table.
Yeah.
So I haven't picked up my trash. And so I should have been really, felt like, I might have been really embarrassed by that. But I was just like, wow, that person, they just showed to me that I left it there after seeing this. So that was such a slap in the face, It was such a slap in the face because I was the person that I was mad about.
Yeah.
I suddenly became, like those people that I'm angry about. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
And those kind of experiences in life just show you that, well, sometimes we're all hypocritical.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, there's nothing to be ashamed of if you take accountability for that and try to fix it. So what I did is I thanked them for exposing my flaw. And I picked up that napkin and I was like, yeah, thank you. Because now I see that, I was being hypocritical.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, no, that's
I guess that takes courage as well, because obviously, as we spoke earlier about accepting your flaws, your faults, it's painful.
Yeah.
It's not nice to admit that you're wrong.
Definitely uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable, especially if someone comes up to you and tells you about yourself, the thing that you're advocating for, So
yeah.
I mean, it's very very admirable as well for you to say thank you, and not lash out again, and then because you're consumed by shame or whatever the emotion is. So that's I feel like that takes courage, but also like you're mindful, you want to be mindful, and you're willing to learn, and you're trying to do that with grace, which is really nice. It's hard. Like, I find it hard myself sometimes to do that too. So thank you for that.
And thanks. And I think the last few words that I wanted to say while you said that, they came up. So there's this really cliche saying, but it's really meaningful as well. It's that growth requires discomfort. I don't know if that's really cliche, but in this context, I think that it really makes sense.
It does.
So
it does make sense.
That's my final words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
That was really good.
Yeah, I think. If you have any comments, let us know in the comment section. I can share some of your details in the description, so people can find you, listen to your music. The music is wonderful, incredibly talented. So definitely go check out Osh, and let us know if you agree, disagree, what your experiences are in relation to these topics. I feel like we can talk about this for hours, because I had other stuff. I'm like, I didn't mention this, and could have been, we could have taken a different route to explore these different topics. But obviously, we don't have all day or all night. So this is it for now. There might be a part 2, who knows. It's always open for discussion, and depending on people's availability, obviously. But yeah, I hope you are well. I hope you go well. I hope you stay well, and don't forget to subscribe, obviously. And I hope to see you in the next video. So, deuces.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.